Ray-Ban Meta glasses come with open-ear audio, so you can listen to your favorite music without blocking out the world around you.
Hey Meta, play Gorgeous.
Here's Gorgeous by Doja Cat.
You can also ask Meta AI questions.
Hey Meta, when's Doja Cat's next concert?
Doja Cat is playing at the Los Angeles Theater next Tuesday.
Sweet.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses, available at Ray-Ban stores and other authorized retailers.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. So Netflix is basically Santa this year. 2 NFL games on Christmas Day, streaming live. At 1 p.m. Eastern, it's Cowboys, Commanders. Then at 4:30, you've got Lions, Vikings. Midwest football, playoff stakes, and probably some snow. Watching holiday football is a tradition the whole family can enjoy. Open some gifts, grab some food, settle in, and watch NFL Live on Netflix this Christmas Day.
Hello, family. I'm Janaea Future Khan, and this is Dark Woke. Just before we hit it, I want to say thank you to all the listeners out there, and a special shout out to the supporters who make this show possible. It truly means the world to me. If you'd like to become a member, our Patreon is linked in the episode right up below. Moments like this one, where a guy like Gavin Newsom puts on a podcast, like he puts it out, and he brings on Charlie Kirk. That's a moment that we should take note of because we're in dialogue now. Is that our best and brightest? What are the talking points? Where are we strong? Where are we weak? Very good time for a diagnostic. Now, Newsom is going to be a front runner come 2028, 2029. I'm going to play some shit for you. And I'm going to say this. He got smoked, in my opinion. He got fucking smoked. And I don't think it's not really my singular opinion. That seems to be the opinion across the board. We all seem to agree on it across the right and the left. I'm so embarrassed. He's there in his little jeans and his little shirt, and he slicked back his hair, all to be what? Like, you know what? I'm going to play you some clips, and then we're going to break some things down. Where we at? This is good. This episode is going to be a little bit shorter. I think we're all a bit inundated with information this week because of that terrible State of the Union. But we are going to end this week strong, and we're going to start next week out stronger. I promise. I know it's so weird because emotionally, I do feel a little bit unhinged and all over the place, but spiritually, I'm like fired up. I'm so fired up because the harder this shit gets, the stupider these people sound, the clearer the path. Okay, let me play this first clip where you're going to get a little bit of background on Newsom. On Newsom and why he brought Kirk on. So I think this is important, especially if you don't know who this guy is. Again, this is like a mouthpiece for the right. Very impactful, had a strong strategy. Why don't we listen to a little bit about that?
You are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding.
No, but I know, but I appreciate that. I mean,
that's Newsom, by the way, who is saying you are making a damn dent. Great. Yeah. You know what? I'm also rusty with interviews, and when you're rusty in interviews, you spend way too much time congratulating the person on their awesomeness. So maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just nerves. Maybe Gavin Newsom is just nervous.
it's the reason you're here, because I think people need to understand your success, your influence, what you've been up to, and the fact that you're on these college campus tours. And to your point, man, you just open up. I mean, you're like, ask me anything.
Anything.
Challenge me,
whatever.
When did this whole thing, when did you start putting?
So he's referring to, I think Charlie Kirk really popularized this whole what's that game? Duck, Duck, Goose kind of style debate. So he sits in the middle of a circle, and then there are people all around, I guess they're students, and they run over, or, one person runs to the chair. It's highly embarrassing, and then sits in the chair and then tries to debate him on a matter, race, but it's largely around trans identities that have been because it's the lightning rod issue, race, gender, etc., abortions, all that. And there's a timer, and then when it's up, I guess people like raise red flags. And then it's just like, if I'm going to find a bucket of fucking quarters and I'm just going to fill it up, quarters, nickels, dimes, whatever, pennies. And then I just tell me which wishing well to go to. Tell me which one to go to make this offering to get us out of this hell. Okay. But that's what he's done. They did a lot of organizing on college campuses, as I mentioned, but that's what Gavin Newsom is currently applauding Charlie Kirk for.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at this for 13 years, and it's been a wild movement, really accelerated once President Trump kind of came on the scene. Right around, I'd say 2021, we had a goal. Could we move the youth vote 10 points over 10 years? And
it was literally you sat down and put that numerical together.
Yeah, like, can we move it 10 points over 10 years? Ish, approximate. Yeah. Because our whole hypothesis was, and we did this alongside President Trump and his great team, was that this demographic.
See this right here. Do you see how they're working in unison, right? We sat down with Donald Trump and his team, with President Trump, right? Or whatever, and his team. They did that after a loss. So the other thing to note is that this took 13 years. So when you think about how to build things at scale, right? Sometimes I get very daunted and overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of this task ahead of us, right? But it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I was made for this shit. And you want to know something? So were you. So were you. How do I know? Because you didn't fucking die. Everything in this world is about stamping out our spirits, stamping out our sense of belief, sense of purpose, our callings. But your job is not who you are, and how you make money is not, and how much money you have is not at all, has nothing to do with your value. And this world and this society convinces us that it is. But I want you to just take a moment to think about 13 years, right? 13 years. Something that you could just like skim over very easily in a back and forth like this. But I am the person that's like the peel back the layers. 13 years. We are not even a year into this thing that we're doing together, right? Dark Woke. And I don't really count those first couple of months because that was me trying to figure everything out. The OGs know, but 13 years, what could we do in 13 years? There's going to be damage. There's going to be damage, but where could we be in 13 years? Where will you be in 13 years? If we put our shit together and we actually see it through, we can do anything.
Traffic is disproportionately to the Democrat side. We believe Democrats were taking them for granted. We think that your side had no message whatsoever and an ideological monopoly. We saw some of the fault lines there.
And remember, they're talking about on campuses, right? They took these young people for granted. They decided that they weren't going to vote, and they decided that, we can speak to them. And they did that in cohesion with Trump's team. Think about the funding, think about the investment, think about the level, right? Really eye-opening. And
to President Trump's credit, he also harmonized with the strategy by going on podcasting and using TikTok. But yeah, I mean, we did it in 4 years, not 10, large in part thanks to you guys. One of the things we saw in the last couple of years that
was a dig. We did it in large part thanks to you guys. And you fucked up so bad that this was easy for us. We might have lost that election in 2021, but then they just made a plan. They just made a plan and then they saw it through. That's actually how wins work. You make a fucking plan and then you just do it. Some days you're awesome and some days you're shit, but you do it. You do it.
The Democrats completely ignored, and your side was basically not acknowledging it was happening, right, was the crisis that young people were experiencing.
Right.
That, I mean, it's the first time in America's history that a 30-year-old is going to have it worse off than their parents.
Right.
It's a breakdown of the social compact.
That's right.
They are the most alcohol.
I just want to, just from a debate perspective, Charlie Kirk just made a really serious assertion, right? This was happening and you guys didn't do anything about that. This is a grown ass man. I mean, they're both, grown, but how is Newsom just sitting there taking these hits? It's weird to me. Like, you're just going to concede all this ground. Like, you haven't done anything. You haven't said anything. You haven't tried to appeal. It's very odd. And the thing is, you have to think about what the perception is. That's remember I mentioned that so much of debate is vibes. This guy is telling a story, and the story is you guys weren't doing anything, so we stepped up and we stepped in. And Newsom is like, yeah, totally.
Alcohol addicted, most drug addicted, most suicidal, most depressed, most medicated generation in history. Right. And the message that was largely being fed to a lot of young people was lower your expectations. You're not going to have the same American dream that your parents would have. Mm-hmm. And we saw this as an opportunity, especially with young men. And again, this got ridiculed a lot by the press that, they're creating this manosphere thing. Look, they're half of the population and necessary for any society and civilization to succeed, which is to have both strong men and strong women. Yeah. And we went about that in a very unique and creative way. And again, the president became a cultural phenomenon, right, where no matter what you threw at this guy, he rose above it. And you would even have to give him credit. I mean, facing 700 years in federal
100%. Oh.
Prison. Yeah. States tried to kick him off the ballot. I know you spoke out against it, but California did have a faction that tried to kick him off the ballot, right? That's right. And despite all of that, of course, being shot, and that was kind of the crescendo of all of it, he kind of became this figure of an American comeback story. Yeah. So he personified.
Sorry, that is just not true. He became the face of the American comeback story. Do you want to know when Donald Trump actually, represented that? It was right before his reality TV show. He was bankrupt. He had no money, and he'd come from money, sure, and that's not the typical heroes rises from the ashes type thing, but it's enough of one. And he was able to rebuild his empire from that. That's the last time that's happened. This is not the fucking case right now. This guy was dealing with like an unbelievable amount of legal issues. Like, there were so many places to interject here to disrupt the narrative. That is the current prevailing narrative, which is the Democrats have failed the right. Failed young people, failed men, did nothing, da-da-da-da-da. That's not actually the case. I mean, what do I want to say? Because it's not like they were doing a bang-up job, right? But certainly the right isn't either. It's to say we represented these values, and even if you wanted to say we could have worked on these things, it's like, no, we represented these values, and young men, our messaging could have changed, and or these are the actual numbers of young men. It's more balanced than you think. Right? It's actually way more balanced than you think. There's nothing in there. It's wild to me that he's just sitting there listening to this and being like, yeah, no, totally. What the fuck? The thing that I like that Kirk said, though, was that, we weren't promising these folks anything. We weren't promising young people anything. And that's true. The Democrats don't talk about the future ever. It's very irritating to me. They talk about keeping things as they are, or they say that things are fine. And that's a message box that the Democrats need to change. But to say but the thing that's not being named, of course, is why they were able to appeal to young men. It wasn't simply that nobody was talking to them. It's because they are speaking to these very, very insane extremist positions of what masculinity should be. And there's always going to be a subset of men that are drawn to that. Whether or not that's actually good for them or good for society, why don't we take a fucking look around at society and see if that's actually working out for everybody? Because it's kind of not, right? That's the problem. Is I like the idea of men just being men. I love fucking toxic men. I can't help it. I like them with opinions, right? But that doesn't mean that there should be a singular ideological framework that runs the country. And it certainly shouldn't mean a theocratic one. And that's what so much of the right currently represents. And it's a problem.
What a lot of young people, especially young men, wanted back in their politics, which was an ascendant rebel attitude against these institutions that have failed them so miserably.
I think you talked about it the other day. A lot of folks were talking about that Carville article where he talked about
roll over and play dead.
Roll over. In essence, he said that. I think it was a strategic retreat, right? Yeah, that we need to come back. Trump's starting to implode. His numbers are getting soft. This was even before the tariff issues, et cetera. And then come back and strike when hot. And
right there. Why didn't you ask him why Trump's numbers are, and they are plummeting. Like, his popularity is fucking plummeting. Sure, we need to push back on, I disagree completely with the like, he's just going to shoot himself in the foot. Who cares? We should be active. But this is weird to me.
I immediately, no BS, thought about you, who's just 24/7 flooding the zone, owning this space, every day getting a convert, every day picking up 1, 2, 10,000
What's it like being on your knees, Newsom? You're a tall man. I don't know what that's like.
folks, continuing the momentum, coming out of this damn election. And then I'm thinking about, we're going to stand back and watch you run circles around us for 6 months, the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for the moment to finally strike. Struck me as not necessarily the best advice.
You know what amazes me? I'm just going to say this, the irony of, and then after this, you know, I'm going to play some clips that actually get into very specific issue areas, but the irony of saying that the Democrats are just sitting back and letting this happen, and you're doing the exact same thing on your debut episode of your own podcast. How fucking embarrassing. Like, I don't think this is going to have huge implications, but I'm very frustrated with this. And the reason why, well, I'll show you in a minute, right? It's the whole trans shit.
And it's not a knock on Carville, who I have deep respect for. What's your thoughts?
That's okay. So I don't have to. He's read about one thing in the last 40 years. Its economy is stupid, and boy, he spent down that one line pretty amazingly. Yeah, I hope you guys retreat.
You kind of like the
more
advice.
For us.
You like
I mean,
the advice.
there's no opposition. There's no activist spark. You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't
are
know.
most
This
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same
Oh, you
thing.
didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it.
What do you-
go
what do
ahead. Go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
But what do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give
You're
us some
asking
advice.
Get better ideas,
him
Governor.
Did you hear that? Hold on.
Of like 22. Do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
But what do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some advice.
Get better ideas, Governor.
You walked right into that. Like Gavin Newsom walked right into that. Yes, please, Charlie Kirk, tell us what to do. You're the fucking governor of California. What are you doing? You think you convey strength right now, my guy? What are you doing? And yeah, that video where they were, you know, all saying the same shit. I saw it. The reason why I felt the need to bring it up is because there's nothing wrong with having a unified message box. My goodness, I was part of a movement that didn't have one. That can be tough. That can be a really tough, annoying thing. I'm going to skip the part where Newsom is talking about how much his son loves Charlie Kirk. I might play that in a bit, but and it's not a shocker. His son is 13 years old. That's who's drawn to these guys. He didn't want to go to school because he wanted to meet Charlie Kirk, right? Oh, okay, here we go. There was an immediate, disgust and pushback for what I'm about to play. We'll have a little bit more of a nuanced take, but why don't we just get into it? So this is Gavin Newsom on the issue of transgender women playing men's sports during his own debut podcast. This is Gavin Newsom. Yeah. I'm going to let this play out, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts. Also, let me know if there's a preference, because something, the playing and the stopping and the yapping, people like that on stream, but I don't know if we love it on podcast. So if you have feedback on that, let me know. Ooh, I love asking for feedback. All right, here we go. Brace yourselves, my loves. It's a good time.
Right. You're talking to me of all people.
Yeah.
So like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports,
right.
that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out say no.
No, and I appreciate
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness.
So
it's deeply unfair.
Would you speak out against this young man, A.B. Hernandez, who right now is going to win the state championship in the long jump?
Boy, did I saw how you got.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't even last. Do you hear how much ground he's conceding? Do you hear the fucking Grand Canyon opening up in his inability to frame, Gavin Newsom's inability to frame a single sentence?
Guys were able to weaponize that issue at another level.
Not weaponize. That's
well, weaponize may be pejorative. You're right, but
weaponize may be pejorative. Weaponize may be pejorative. No, that's what happened. This is why this soy boy bullshit is exactly the problem.
You were able to
shine a light on,
highlight it,
highlight You went from weaponize, which is actually what happened, to highlight. I'm sorry. Is this the fucking aughts? Are we talking about frost tips here? No, we're talking about fucking trans rights and trans people. You know that I have a much more nuanced take than other folks, but the fact that you are getting your ass handed to you like this,
in a way that, frankly, there are not that many out. We're talking about, I think, the NC2A, what, 510,000? No, but I just didn't realize.
It's 890 medals and trophies that we know of in the last.
that's actually not true. I'll take that on in a second. And the fact that Newsom also didn't have a talking point for that, embarrassing.
5 years. That's a lot.
No, so let me step back, say completely fair on the issue of fairness. I completely agree. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
There are folks on the left who would say that this whole point is transphobic. It's not. Okay? Talking about whether or not something is fair and figuring out what metrics would need to be met in order for it to be fair. That's actually good work. That's not what's happening here.
There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide.
See, now here's the problem, right? We're going to get into the whole thing in a second, but I'm like, that's why we're going transgender. I need to collect some transgenders who are out here transgendering. We got to get together. We got to figure this shit out, because why is this the talking point? Yeah, but if we don't let them play, they're going to kill themselves. Right? And that's actually been the talking point very consistently across the board. This is not a single issue thing, right? I have heard this over and over and over again. It always comes down to the mental health of the children and the mental health of young people and the mental health of trans people. No, that should not be the talking point, right? What are we trying to appeal to? A sense of what? Humanity? It's not there. Right? It's not there. We are so far past that point of the debate, and I think we have to figure out not only what the talking points are here, but whether or not this is a hill that we should even be occupying right now, which is what the debate is going to be centered on. It's going to be really good. I'm going to try to make it happen really quickly, but this upsets me. We have this talking point, which is a fairly good one, which is 500,000, over 500,000 athletes, less than 9 are transgender. That's a good point. But why didn't you ask him right here, Gavin, why this is so important to him? Like, he makes this assertion about all these medals. So he has a rebuttal. He came prepared. Charlie Kirk came prepared. He knew that was probably a statistic that was going to come out, right? Less than 10. Out of 500,000. So he hit him with this medals thing, which is bullshit. I'll explain in a second. And Newsom immediately concedes ground and then says, well, sure, it's about fairness. And again, I think that's a great point. But you got to have some grace for these kinds of people. Yes, because we're so fucked up and so fragile. And we also have to stop talking about ourselves in that context. But here's the main thing. I'm not just going to put this on Newsom. I've seen Hassan get eaten alive by Christian Walker when he came on. And Hassan is great. You know what he does when it came to the trans shit. Because we didn't do our job. We did not do our job. We said trans women are women. And I appreciate a slogan. And I appreciate, taking a position. That was a great assertion. But then we couldn't defend it. We just were like, this is beneath me to defend. I shouldn't have to do that. And if you challenge it, it's transphobic. And that became the entire thing, right? So it's not entirely their fault. We have made it so that anything that you say that isn't only that, if you vary from it, if you stray from that, even the slightest way, you are transphobic.
Anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So
be more specific. You are so vague. What does that mean? What does that even mean? You don't even know how to take up a position.
Both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue?
Both things I can hold in my hand. I can hold the idea of fairness, I can hold the idea that trans people might be unfair in sport, but they might kill themselves if they can't. And the way that we talk down to, marginalized communities. What are you saying? What are you talking about here? One thing is clear. Gavin Newsom he is unsure about what audience he's courting right now. This is somebody who is very unsure about what audience they're trying to court. You brought Charlie Kirk on, and instead of demonstrating strength to his base, right, for your beliefs, show us a man that actually fucks with trans people. Show us a man that isn't afraid to say, you guys are really obsessed about the wrong things. You know, like, I care about fairness for women. So why aren't you running around talking about domestic violence? No, it's about this. It's about, sure. But I do find it a little bit disingenuous that you say it's about fairness and about women, but you single out this particular issue. That's how you have a fucking debate.
With the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed on the issue.
No, I get it.
At the same time, deal with the unfairness.
So you're
I mean, wow. I don't even sorry. Okay, why don't we move really quickly into the book bans, right? Because that is a place where Gavin Newsom should thrive, right? That's a place where he should thrive. It's book bans. It's banning books. Everybody should be against that. Aren't you guys the free speech guys over there? Banning books? Okay. Newsom should win this one, right?
How about the book ban stuff? On a serious note, 4,240 books or titles, libraries and schools were banned in 2023. Is that not, as a conservative?
Well, it depends. I think we can both agree pornography should not be taught to 9-year-olds.
What a leap. Pornography. This guy's talking about book bans, and you bring up pornography. So now we have to see where Gavin Newsom comes in with that, because that is such a derailment.
Fair point. Okay.
He said fair point. Gavin Newsom brings up the attack on education and free speech, right? In the book bans. The right is full of hypocrisy on this. Charlie Kirk mentions pornography. Why did I say it that way? Do you know, I was like, I wanted to like write all these jokes. And again, I thought I was going to have a conversation today. And, I try to come in and bring some levity to this, but I'm so flummoxed. I'm so flummoxed that I'm using the word flummoxed. I could, what did I say yesterday? The scream I scrumped. That's how I feel right now. It is such an embarrassingly weak display. Wait a second. Wait, I totally forgot that I did write down some talking points. Okay. Sorry, go back. Let's go back for a second to the trans stuff. Right. And the assertion that he made on this, like, what did he say about the 800? He said there's 800 and something medals, right? You heard that. That's not real. That's actually not real at all. I pulled up a stat on that. Okay, no, wait. This is me having too many. This is me having too many things up. So just forgive me for a moment. I'm going to pull that up, and I'm going to let this other clip play out. I love this. This is great. I'm going to let this play out. I'm so organized right now. Okay, here we go.
So that's a book ban.
All right. Well, there were some other books.
No. That was the Moms for Liberty contention. Time out. Yeah. Like, I agree on Bill O'Reilly. The Moms for Liberty movement that you made a big thing of was just no porn to 10-year-olds. Yeah. We agree. So those books should be banned.
Well, okay.
So what we should do right now is every California school that has porn in their library should be kicked out.
Does that include the Bible?
Ban. Well, I wouldn't say the Song of Solomon is porn.
No, but I mean, some have made that point. Is that a fair point? Or is it offensive?
I don't think that's fair.
And as a man of faith, and I deeply admire that.
Oh my God. What?
About you.
Thank you. Sincerely. Yes, but no, I mean, again, the Song of Solomon is rather risque.
No, it's
but what we're talking about in these books is not just the words, it's also the images. And again, your audience can look at the images themselves. Okay. It's highly graphic. But again,
like, why isn't he bringing up books like, I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird, for example, right? Why aren't you bringing up books like, I don't know, you banned Freckles. He's not even funny or fun. Make Charlie Kirk admit that the bans have gone too far, that there's no focus in them. What Charlie Kirk did, and remember we talked about how we need to like understand debates, is that he narrowed the frame to exactly where he needed to be to defend the point. The problem with Newsom, and the problem I think across the left in general, is that we have attacked each other so fucking much, right? And this has nothing to do with Newsom being a beta cuck in this interview, because he absolutely is being one, right? But across the left, we have made it so that people are terrified of having an opinion. And I didn't really realize that until, understanding comedy. Comedy is the ability to express an opinion on stage and make a case for it enough. That's something that you feel passionately about, right? And the things that we often feel passionately about, they tend to be weird or contradictory, right? Because it incites something. The words that are in the comedy Bible that should help you frame your opinion or whatever is something that makes you feel something. And the way to frame it is hard, weird, scary, stupid, right? These are the for newer comics, you should be framing it around these things. And if you look at how the right is framing things in general, they are tapping into hard, weird, scary, stupid all the time, right? We don't actually even have fucking opinions anymore to defend. So he's asking questions instead of making Newsom is asking questions instead of making assertions. He's accepting the narrowing the field. Like you literally could have asked about, let's say, To Kill a Mockingbird, and then say, but that's part of American history. So how can you say that you're about this when you want to actually just erase this part of what actually happened? And also this literature was written by great white men, right? Not in that case, but there's other literature that's been banned. Or how about the fact that the bans expanded to freckles, right? He's just doing nothing here. He's doing absolutely fucking nothing. And I did find my little point. When Kirk said that 890 trans women had won medals over cisgender women in the past 5 years, that is an unproven statistic that comes from the anti-trans women's liberation front, right? They are actively, objected to the legal recognition of transgender people, right? So what was the point of having this guy on when you have no thoughts in your head at all? Like you think that Charlie Kirk's base is going to be impressed by this display? No, they're not. This is just weak. I'm genuinely confused and feel even more like, oh shit, I got to light more of a fire under my ass because we got to get out here faster. Like this is so not it. But no, anytime I fire, I don't miss because I make sure that the shit is airtight and we are on this journey together. But I promise you, we're elbowing our way into the space because I'm embarrassed by this display. But this is exactly what we've been talking about and exactly why we have been struggling. It's not because we're weak or the Democrats or this and that and the other. Even culturally, we don't have opinions anymore. If Joan Rivers were out here talking this, that, and the other, we're like, oh, she's transphobic. Oh, she's fatphobic. Oh, she's this. Oh, she's that. And like, look, I'm not ever going to devolve or move into a place where, we're just, let's just start using ableist language. Let's just do that and the other. But so that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm saying that we can't even say words or make assertions about things that are true to what you feel or what I feel without being labeled as something problematic and then thrown away by the left. Me using the term, I'm going to say it again, which libtard, and getting an email about that is appropriate. That is an appropriate, that's engaging with me. That's saying, hey, I want you to think about this. And I did. I thought about it and I was like, this is interesting. I am getting really drunk on the internet slop. It's going to make me think about it. And if I disagreed, then I would disagree. And I would say, hey, I disagree with that. And maybe I'll change my mind about that and make a case for it. And that person will hear that out and we can go. But if the word does more harm than good, what need do I have to use it, right? And I know it's a huge word across in the streamer world, and it's a big word on the internet, libtards. But until I can defend my use of it, I shouldn't be using it. And if there's no defense, and there's as is the case with many words, there's no defense. But so that is very different than having an opinion about something. And that's the thing. If I had a strong opinion about it, well, then maybe I'd make the case. But I don't have a strong opinion about it. We as a culture need to go back to having strong opinions and assertions. Let me finish this out. Oh, remember how I said this was going to be a shorter episode? Wow. I'm on one.
Again, it seems a banning binge. I mean, at next level, sort of cancel culture.
But why do you think moms are doing that?
Do you see what happened? Newsom went vague again, 30,000 feet up. And then Charlie Kirk asked him a question. Why do you think moms would be doing that? So now Charlie's like, no, you're going to make my point for me. This is an own. This is an, wow. Why bother doing this? I just don't get it.
Do you think it's because they want to have mind control, or do you think that they have come across incident of highly provocative material?
I love moms, but this moms, I mean, we don't have to get into Moms for Liberty. It seems
you brought up the book bans,
deeply organized for a larger agenda, but that's my humble opinion.
What? Are you being coy? Are we in a fucking, are you being coy? Are you a French maiden? Are you from the Victorian era? Are you showing a turn of the cap? What the fuck are you doing? Are you being coy right now? We need Sylvia Plath energy. And you're bringing a lot of Jane Austen, and I don't fuck with that. Oh my God.
But let me just...
Yeah, they're really highly organized. And say it with your chest, my guy. Have your balls dropped yet? I can't believe, I went from being like, put that man in charge to, where is that man? Where is he? Shut up, Hakeem. But where is that man?
Kind of complete the point is that it's easy to just call it kind of a book ban, but when you actually have to read some of these books, it will take your breath away of some of this stuff, right? You're like, okay,
Some of these books, this is not defense of a point. They're now trading in vagaries, and Gavin Newsom is accepting these empty. I just can't.
We're teaching a 10-year-old how to put a condom on.
I know. I just have a problem with who the hell is going to decide that? Government?
Teaching a 10-year-old to put a condom on. What the fuck are you talking about? But also, right? Also, this is a point where you don't say we need to be doing XYZ around children, because that's a moot point. But rather to say, are you against, this is a good moment to ask a question. Are you against sex education as a whole? He's going to say no, right? And so then you ask him, what age is appropriate for that to happen? Then he has to explain his position and defend it. And then you say, okay, maybe you ask a question about rural communities where we know that pregnancies are happening in these kinds of ways, and, with younger people, whatever. You bring something else up, but you kind of problematize the belief. You force them to defend the belief, and then you problematize it. And then you add nuance to it, and suddenly something that was a very clear knot, the threads start to loosen a little bit. And in that space, a conversation can actually happen. That's beyond dogma. But right now, there's only one dog in that room, and it ain't Newsom.
I mean, Ron DeSantis is going to decide what I can read or say
in
the boardroom, in the classroom.
This is the exercise of politics, though.
Yeah.
The exercise of politics is the highest form of community because it blends morality and sociability. So what we do is we have discussion and elections, and we have boards and commissions, right? And we as a people say, okay, no porn for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that's politics, right?
That was never this. I want to remind you that this started out with book bans. Do you see what I mean? And this is what propaganda does. It started out as a question about book bans. That's what Newsom brought up. And then the final point was, yeah, well, I think we can all agree that there shouldn't be. I'm just going to play that last bit just one more time, right?
Boards and commissions, right? And we as a people say, okay, no porn for 10-year-olds.
And we as a people say, okay, no porn for 10-year-olds. So a conversation, or really a question that should have been a challenge on book bans, right? The attack on free speech, the attack on education, the attack on history, right? The censorship of the active censorship of information, the celebration of ignorance, right? Who has done book burnings in the past? Like, let's really get into it. It ends with saying, okay, yeah, we're against porn for 10-year-olds. That's how you fucking own a debate. I'm so confused. I'm going to play this last clip before we wrap. I'm really eager to get this panel going. And I'll tell you what it's about in a second, specifically, because I think you're going to love the concept. But I was just like, what would I love this? Like, what am I not seeing? What are we not seeing as a collective? But I just wanted to play this last bit about this little bit of insight into this mass culture that Newsom has, very much. Oh wait, this is a 5-minute clip. I don't want to play this 5-minute clip. Hold on. I can't last. There's a shorter one, but it might just be that I need to. That's the weird thing. This is a good moment to also add, right? So Politico was the first to report Newsom's new podcast, and Newsom said that he drew inspiration from Bill Maher, which is really funny because that's not what we saw. And, despite my disappointment, to say the least, it's his first episode. I think he's going to learn a lot from it. I just can't believe that he took this on the first time and did so poorly as an old man. It's just very shocking to me. But, he says, he wanted to frame it after Bill Maher, who regularly finds common ground with conservative adversaries while taking frequent aim at democratic dogma, including youth trans issues. He did none of those things. Bill Maher is actually really good at defending his position. Gavin Newsom doesn't have a position. And I think that's partly our fault. Because we keep moving the goalpost for what is trans inclusive, but also that trans people have been put into this impossible position, in this lightning rod position that's incredibly vulnerable and cruel, that both parties are now using as fucking speed bags, and it's disgusting. And I don't even say things like, did you hear how I said it? I was such a girl. Right. It was this, and it's disgusting. The fag scent came out. That's how annoyed I am by this. Anyway, it wasn't just this thing, they briefly mentioned, I'm reading a clip, a media hit, right? It's just wild. Where I'm reading this media clip. They were talking about, and Rogan's already posted about this, but he mentioned the influence of Kirk and other MAGA world figures have had on his 13-year-old son, which I mentioned to you already, right? Distanced himself from the use of pronouns and gender-neutral term Latinx. Nobody's into that anymore. I think a lot of Latino folks were like, we tried it. This is not for us. Called police defunding lunacy. Embarrassing. Right? Really embarrassing. Denounced cancel culture. Sure, fuck cancel culture. And agreed that there had been some internal issues in the leadership of the BLM organization. So the question, and of course it was Kirk who was really promoting and pushing a lot of these beliefs. So Kirk, the number one rule in media, media training, media literacy, media anything, and you've heard me say this before, is say what you want to say. Say what you want to say. What we need to understand as people on the left, right, is that you have to have something to say. You can't just be like, that's bad or that's not okay. And we have to destroy this culture where we punish people if they don't say things exactly the way that we want them to. That is dead. And you know what? I don't care. I'm happy to be disliked. I've never needed to be liked. I think we have got to be what they write is saying that they are, which is the common sense team. And the common sense here is not to throw fucking trans people under the bus, but we do need to have a dialogue, and this is what the debate is going to be on, this panel, is, obviously touching base on the embarrassment that was this interview. But to what extent? Okay. Rogan posts about this, and his post is not negative. He says, hold on, I pulled it up somewhere. Interesting insight from Gavin Newsom. Tags him, and it's from CNN, right? And the CNN thing, the CNN headline is, so you can see it for those who are watching, you can see it here. The headline is, Newsom says trans athletes playing in women's sports is, quote, deeply unfair and split with the Democrats. Now, this is obviously a little bit misleading based on what we heard, but Rogan's talking about it. So we are obligated to ask ourselves, is Newsom, not literally because he was so shit here, but is he a savior or is he a sellout, right? Is he actually playing a bigger game here? And should that be what we're looking at? Should we actually move away from this college debate thing? Because we have lost a lot of ground, and it is a deeply unpopular opinion. As trans folks, can we do that? Or is it a slippery slope? We have to have that debate. And if we are going to talk about it, then we have to figure out how. Because this is going to be very unpopular, what I say, so don't clip this. But like, I have zero interest in fighting for trans people's rights to be in the military. But I want us to be everywhere we want to be, but if fighting for the larger rights of other people means that trans people will be included in that, is that the better strategy? That's what we have to hash out. This is so stupid. I'm going to play this clip. We're not obviously going to listen to the full 5 minutes, but there's a little bit on the man shit. And then, I'll round it out here. We'll end it here because I think it is insightful.
We're losing. I feel it's asymmetry of Donald Trump and Elon Musk sending out tweets, or you doing social media, and then me doing a 3-minute hit at 3:00 in the afternoon on CNN. I mean, how the hell do we compete? We're toast.
Sorry,
you
this
guys
is,
on social.
I actually clicked on something without meaning to. You know what? I'm just gonna forget this because it's like this thing is too long. This is what this was. It was this particular quote here. Newsom asks, "What's masculine about a podcast?" Kirk says, "To go into the wilderness, no rules, duel it out." Newsom says, "Haha, we don't do it. You're right." Kirk says, "You can laugh, but which Democrat does it?" Newsom says, "RFK, when he was a Democrat." Kirk said, "You have to show them you can intellectually joust." Newsom says, "Love that." That's not actually what these guys do. They don't intellectually joust across the right, but what they do well is they make very strong assertions about things and then are willing to, and that's honestly how men are trained to present information. I mentioned in this thing, when we were yapping, that yes, some men have weaponized like therapy speak, for example. But the other thing is that is how men are trained to talk. Like I immediately end up debating men anytime I'm around them, and it's one of my favorite things to do. Like my sister's husband, we got into it immediately about Jake Paul and boxing. Immediately, I'm a huge boxing fan. I love Jake Paul's relationship to boxing, right? Very separate from the man himself, but he's not a great boxer, and he's never going to be. He doesn't have that it. And literally, my sister's husband was like fighting me on that, and then I'm debating him, and we're going back and forth, and I'm like, nigga, I'm in the gym, like, like I'm in the ring. You know what I'm saying? He can hold his own in any boxing club, but he's not beating no greats, right? It's an opinion that I have, and I'm arguing my case. I'm trying to, in this regard, because it's an opinion, we do tend to fall back in anecdotal fallacy. But when you're talking about whole swaths of people, whatever, right? Of people, and you are making assertions that are just like point blank, period, untrue. They want 890 medals. Those points need to be contested. That's not an opinion anymore. And that is very serious, real life ramifications and implications on the lives of all trans people at this point. Right. And that's the thing that's driving me nuts. It's all right. I got to wrap. I know. Next week, I'm going to make sure we're on point in questions, but I'm getting this panel on, and I really appreciate you all sticking it through with me. I know this week was a little bit up in the air, or at least it felt that way to me. Like yesterday's episode was like really stacked and a little bit more disjointed than I like. Or maybe I just think that we're all getting a bit fatigued, and I want to bring more levity into this space, even as we move through these really hard, annoying moments. But I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for each and every one of you. I'm really grateful for your support. The time that you give, the funds, the thoughts. I just am really grateful to have this space with you all, because I would be way worse off without you. And I hope you know that. So yeah, send me more fucking questions. Send me more notes. I really enjoy hearing from you, and I'm troubleshooting all the ways to get more locked in. And I mentioned that we were going to be doing some stuff on Substack, but just know, like, we're in this shit together, and I really think that not only are we going to be okay, but I think we're going to create some serious inroads that don't currently exist. There's a void that needs to be filled in some lanes, and it's us. It's us, So, I went way over time. All right, I just got to hit the outro music. Goodness. All right. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to Dark Woke. It means the world to me. The show really is a labor of love. We got new episodes dropping all the time. We're available everywhere podcasts are. If you love the show, don't forget Dark Woke is self-funded. Please feel free to support us as best you can. We're at Patreon/DarkWoke. Don't forget, I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note questions to darkwokejfk@gmail.com. Shout out to KR and the JFK team. And shout out to you, the listeners, that make it all possible. Love you. Peace.